Hello, travel biz owner. Welcome to my corner of the travel industry, the Strategic Travel Entrepreneur Podcast. If you're ready to have fun, be inspired, get clarity, and take action in your travel business, then you're in the right place. Let's jump in. Hello, everyone. Welcome back to the Strategic Travel Entrepreneur Podcast. This episode was inspired by a question that I got tagged in about preparing for either your first or your next ship inspection and what kinds of content you should get while you're there. And I have thought that I've needed to make a resource for this for a really long time. And your girl just does not have the bandwidth to create a resource, but I do have the bandwidth to create a podcast episode about it. So here you go. Hopefully this gives you a little taste of both worlds. Now, if you do not feel like you are an expert at getting content from ship inspections, don't worry, I've got you. That's exactly what the cruise content library is for. There's over 3,000 B-roll clips plus that is constantly being added every year. It doesn't mean every month that content gets added, but every year there is some sort of refresh to the content. And I'm also going to be adding in photos in the next couple of months. So stay tuned to all of that because you do not have to be a pro. And even if you try to be an amateur and you don't think that looks good, I still have got your back to being really confident in your marketing skills on social media. So just wanted to put that out there if you're or maybe you're not in a place where you can get this ship content and you don't want to rely on your suppliers either, because your suppliers make things look nice and orderly and everything, and that might not necessarily be your vibe. Also, the vibe of social media right now is this user-generated authentic content. So it does not have to be perfect. It does not have to be flawless. And that's really kind of the content that I do get. It's me getting content for you because I am really great at getting content for you. So without further ado, let's get into this podcast episode about just things you should know as far as content you should get and how to prepare for your first or your next ship inspection. My first kind of tips for this are, if you have not been on a ship inspection before, it is a very short amount of time for all the things that you will be doing, especially if you are going on a larger mega ship, I'm talking about an Oasis class type ship on Royal Caribbean. A big ship that handles thousands of people is huge. You want to make sure that you are prepared not only with a comfortable outfit, but definitely make sure that you have comfortable shoes because you are going to be walking your patootie off everywhere. They do have, because I have seen people who are wheelchair users also going on ship inspections, and they do make certain accommodations. So if you're kind of I need mobility, that you can always ask your BDM about that information, but do know things do go fast, and hopefully you can make a buddy or two. So if you're not as quick as some other people might be, you could just rely on some of the help of your other advisors who are there with you on that trip or on that ship inspection with you. Day of, also make sure that you have an extra battery pack and make sure that you have enough space on your phone or whichever device that you're using. Or if you don't have enough space, have some way to be able to add space, because again, this is going to go by super quick. You're going to be walking to and from here or there. You just want to make sure that you're on and ready to do all the things. Sometimes you are just going up and down stairs. There's a lot of time that they will let us use the elevators. And that's usually kind of what I opt for personally, because the elevators help save me some steps, especially after you've been going back and forth all over these different kinds of ships. Also be prepared. You may not get cabin footage. That is definitely something that I would want you to get when you're at a ship inspection, but you may not be able to get it because either you don't have enough time on the ship or there are just not cabins available. Also be aware that even if cabins are available, suites might not be available for similar reasons. So you have to be flexible. Please do not be rude. Like, come with the right attitude, because your BDM or a BDM in your area is taking out their time, sometimes on like weekend days, so they're having to work extra hours to give you this opportunity and explore these ships. Of course, they're doing it because they want you to sell more of their product, and you're doing it because you want to increase your own sales. You don't have to be a booty head when you're going on these ship inspections. So please be kind when you are going around. And that means also kind to other travel advisors, like being mindful. I like to either stay at the front of the pack or the back of the pack. And sometimes that will vary. Like, I might start in the front of the pack and end at the end of the pack, and vice versa. And I like to do that because it kind of like maximizes the least amount of people in my footage. And then I also try and like finagle my body in ways that I can like finagle the camera so that there's not other people in my footage. If there's going to be situations like it's unavoidable, especially like when we're talking about cabin shots. So again, like, it is what it is. Do your best. Something that I would take into consideration thinking about this too, and the content that you need to get, I would definitely prioritize video content over just getting photos. Photos you can always get like as a screenshot from one of the videos that you've taken. And I say like be prioritizing one over the other, because especially if you are doing cabins, like, there's sometimes 20, 30 people that are here. Like, think about a cruise cabin. If you've been in a cruise cabin before, there is not a lot of space, and you need to get in and get out because everybody is also going to want to do the same, and also going to get that same type of footage. So again, please be kind, please be mindful, and then also figure out like what kinds of footage that you want to get. Are you just going to be using this for social media? Well, then you should be getting vertical content. Are you creating YouTube videos? Well, then you'll want to get horizontal content. Somebody told me, and I'm sorry because I don't remember the name right now. If I remember it, I'll try and post it somewhere. There is an app or there is a device or something that will let you take content, and it will take both vertical and horizontal, so you don't have to remember. But I don't know what that app is. If you know what that app is, please share it with me so I can share it with everybody so that they can also have that app. Something else that might be helpful if you feel comfortable with it too, is that I know sometimes advisors will set up photo circles. Like, one person will set up a photo circle and then everybody can send the photos that way to one place, which is good in theory and sometimes does work. The one thing that I would caution of, or there's a couple things I would caution of here. Like, do you know that that person gets like really great content? You don't. So if like you feel like you get really great content, maybe don't participate in that. I mean, you can like upload your photos. The other caveat that I have with this is if they don't share the links of everything, then this does not benefit you. Like, it's kind of like working on a group project, but you put in all the effort in, which can be stinky if that does happen. So that's just something to be mindful of as well. Like, I would hope, and I want to think the good of everybody, but I do know that sometimes things do fall through the cracks, because that has happened before. How do I know? Personal experience. So just giving you that 411. Normally, before you get onto the ship, you're going to be going into like the whole security process, like you would be boarding for that day. So make sure like bring only the things that you need, which really is probably only going to be your purse. Your BDM is going to tell you, or the person that's in charge of the tour will tell you what else you need to bring. Because before you even get to the ship inspection, you have to submit your credentials, whether that's your driver's license or your passport. You're going to need to turn that into security. Normally, not with every line, but normally they do keep that in their security place, and they give you like some sort of guest pass so that they know how to account for you so that you don't stay on the ship past the time. So if you're kind of like leery about leaving your identification there, it is a very normal practice. I've done it numerous times. And that is just to help them keep track of who should be on the ship, who should not be on the ship anymore. Before you also board the ship, like after you've gone into the security area, make sure that you just look for wherever the BDM or the tour guide said. Sometimes you're meeting in the terminal. Most of the times you are meeting out of the terminal. Again, it's just going to vary. Your BDM or the tour guide will give you like the setup for the day. They will normally, like if they know it at the time, will tell you like which cabins you're going to be seeing so that you have like a good lay of the land. And then they're going to tell you like where we're going to be starting, where you're going to be stopping. Normally, what I have kind of seen is that you start in cabins because guests are wanting to get to their cabins first. And so you're going to start with cabins first if they are available. And then I think you go pretty much to like the pool deck areas because it is hot, especially if you're doing it in Florida. It is hot, especially in the summer months. So they kind of like want to get you outside and again, this is going to vary because sometimes we've done it as the last thing or the last thing before we do lunch, because normally you do also have a lunch that is included. Now, I've had this included in different ways. Normally it is in the main dining room. Sometimes it's in a specialty dining room, and sometimes it is at whatever like buffet setup that they do have. So be prepared for all alternatives. I will say, I don't know how confirmed this is just what I've heard from other advisors before, is that they bring cash to leave on the table and to tip the server, because the server, like this is an extra task that the servers have to do that's outside of their normal duties. So just a little bonus tip. If you know for sure that's a thing or that's not a thing, just let me know. I don't feel like it's going to hurt regardless if like you leave cash and they do get like tipped for it. But this is like extra outside of like their normal cruise duties. So be, again, kind and leave cash if you're able to bring cash with you. All right. I feel like that's kind of like the base parameters of everything, making sure you have your walking shoes, preparing you for the day, and then also making sure that you have like an extra battery pack if needed. Oh, also preparing for your day. They should be letting you know where to park. Sometimes parking is free. Sometimes parking is paid, depending on what port it is and what facilities that they have. Like I know parking for Port Canaveral, sometimes they'll have us like park in the employee area, so then we don't have to pay for parking. I've done a ship inspection, like the ship inspections I've done in Miami, there is like no area like that, so I have had to pay before. I think there's like one garage that is like an employee area that I've parked before and I haven't had to pay, but like the last ship inspection I did in Miami, I did have to pay, but it's just like the daily fee, so it's not that big of a deal. But I know like sometimes, yeah, paying for parking isn't fun. Like I had mentioned before, trying to figure out what kinds of content that you're gonna take between vertical and horizontal, I also need you to figure out like who your ideal audience is so that you have a game plan, because you're going to want to get as much footage as possible of all the public spaces, because those are going to be able to help you tell better stories in your social media posts. So I'm talking like spa, fitness center, running track, pool. Sometimes like there's solarium or adults only areas, bars, lounges, restaurants, specialty restaurants, theaters, just any public spaces, which that's going to be a bulk of like the running around. And thankfully, they do it like the tour guides typically do it like where you're doing like this floor. Okay, now we're going to the next floor. Now we're going to the next floor. That's why I say like some of them really like to start on the top decks and then work your way down after like having done cabins. So then you can kind of like do a mental checklist cross. You're not going to be able to do everything. So I, again, would prioritize the things that you are focused on. Like, for my agency, conference rooms are very important for me to see and to get footage of. They might not be very important for you. So, like, I know that I have skipped out on seeing things before because I wanted to see the conference room. Now, I did clear this with the BDM before I just went off on my own. But I think she was wanting to show people like the kids areas. And I said, hey, can I skip that? Do this, meet you here. And they were fine with it. So don't just go rogue on your own, because they also have to like, they also want to hold you accountable and like make sure where you're at. But if like the kids clubs, maybe you're never going to do anything that involve kids, any sorts of travel, you don't need to get that footage. And that's kind of like what I focused on a lot in my travel agency, is like, I didn't worry about getting kids clubs because everything else was more important than the kids clubs for me. So again, think of your ideal client in mind when you're thinking about the types of content that you have to get. Normally also, like, thinking about the layout of the day, you're with your BDM, then you have lunch. Sometimes you immediately get off the ship after lunch. Sometimes they give you anywhere from like 30 minutes to an hour to like freely roam the ship and just say, at this time you have to get off. This time can range, it's usually, I feel like 2:00. Sometimes it can be a little bit later, like 3:00. If you lose track of time, don't worry, because the ship will be calling for you. Now, I don't know if they called like your name directly, but they do lots of different announcements that will say, if you are a guest visiting the ship, it is now time for you to disembark the ship. And that is your cue to get off the ship. So again, like sometimes you might have free time, other times you won't. If you don't, hopefully like you've gotten enough footage that you need. Now, thinking about getting footage, and I kind of like covered a little bit of this in one of my earlier episodes about like content creation for fans, but especially if you are not like an expert, and I'm not saying that you need any fancy equipment. Like I'm not saying like you need to get any gimbals. I feel like gimbals kind of like get in the way of other people. Again, thinking about kindness. So some like tips for you to like get better footage and like some non-shaky footage is to like keep your elbows as close to you as possible, like when you're taking the footage. Keeping your elbows close and also like using your hips as a support is going to help you like get really like smooth footage, especially if you're panning. Because if you've never like gotten footage before, like the biggest technique that is gonna be like most popular is to like do panning sorts of videos where you're like, you might start from your left and then just move your body to the right. Your hips are gonna be really important for this, because like if I can just like have my feet stationed in one way and then just be able to move my hips to like show you the biggest vantage points, that is what I personally love to do in my own content. So hips are very important, not just for dancing, but for getting footage, and like keeping my elbows close in so that I get steady. Now, something that I've learned over time, sometimes I'm good at it, sometimes I'm not, full transparency there, is like how fast I get my footage. So don't just go zoom, like a race car. Just give yourself time. Just slowly drag yourself around, because you want to do that so that people can like take in whatever it is that you're shooting. And then also you want to make sure that you have enough footage that you can use. So I like to go anywhere between like 5 and 10 seconds, depending on what it is that I'm shooting, is like how long I'll pan or how long I'll be recording for. And I also like to record a little bit longer, like closer to that 7 to 10 second mark, because if I'm like a little bit unsteady in the beginning, I can cut off those first couple of seconds and then just keep going. Same thing at the end, like I can chop it off later on, like when I'm doing edits and like want to be able to publish some of this content. Another of my favorite types of like footage to get, and you're not necessarily, I like to do this when I see some sort of like movement happening. So really it's just recording and letting it record, and I don't do any sort of movement. Like I just am stationary because there's some sort of movement that's happening in the video. So like I think of promenades and like lobby type areas and like even pool type areas to be able to do something like this on. Or I think about like the surf rider or the flow rider that's on like the Royal Caribbean ships, like where I don't have to move because there's movement that's happening in there in the thing that I'm shooting. I just had a thought and now it just like it came and it went about shooting. You want to make sure like you are in the best type of light, and the best type of light will normally be behind you, because if you shoot with light, like if you shoot and you're shooting towards light, you're probably going to get like darkness coming out in your shot. That doesn't always happen. It's just in some kind of lights. This is what I remembered. Children. Depending again on the line, because if you're on more like luxury or more like adults only lines, you don't have to worry about children. But I do like to not get children in my own content, and I would highly recommend that you do the same, not to get any children. I just like to protect kids that way. Now, if they're kind of like far off and you can't like make their face, I think that might be fine. Like if it's like a pool deck and you're very far away, you're not going to be able to make out anybody's face at that point because you're not like in their face. But if you happen to like get a child in your video, I would see like where you could edit it so that the child is not in your video, or just like move yourself so that there's no way for a kid to get into your video. Again, just want to be mindful of our littles who have not given like any sort of consent, or they're just little and we got to protect our littles. Some tips also. So you are going to be getting lots of footage, lots of content. I would also, I call this like, we're going to squeeze the more juice that we can, from this. And, make sure that if you are on Instagram to be posting on stories, do a pre, a during, and a post story of you being on the ship. Like I want you to make sure that you're getting your audience excited, that you're exploring the ship. This is what this ship means to me. Can't wait to explore it and give you all the deets. While you're at lunch is probably when you can do your next story and maybe like share some of the clips that you've taken in your stories and just give a little bit of context. And then post, also put in your stories something to the effect of like, oh my gosh, this ship was amazing. Or be honest, like, you know, I thought I was going to really love this ship, but she's a little bit more dated than I would have thought. So I'm thinking like, instead of bucket list trips, if this is like your family's like quick weekend, I feel like that's more the vibe of this ship than like going on like your anniversary trip. Again, giving like some of your own personal perspective on what you thought and being honest. And maybe it is like, you know what, I don't think that this is for the type of clients that I work with. But it was really great to experience the ships. I would much rather prefer these types of ships over this types of ships. Or, oh my gosh, this ship is stunning and I can't wait to sail. Maybe, because sometimes on ship inspections, you're able to purchase future cruise credits, or however they call it on the different lines. Maybe you purchase some of those, and that's kind of what you say in like your post. Like I've gotten a couple spots that will get complimentary onboard credit. these need to be booked by the end of the week. You can publicly like post that, or for people that you know are like warmer leads, let them know, hey, I have this really cool incentive. If you are thinking about taking that fall break trip, let me know and we can get you booked and you can have like $100 of onboard credit on me. However you want to spin it to just help make a couple sales from this experience also, because this is why you're going on a ship inspection, is to be able to sell more of either the ship, certain itineraries that the ship goes on, or more of this line that you are with. So that's pre, during, and post stories. Then I would also do like a first impression. So like that 30-second story-ish, you might do a first impression. Maybe do something a little bit longer, like a 1 to up to like 3-minute first impression. But you can't do it like giving facts and figures. It has to be from your discernment lens of what you really know about your ideal audience and what's important to them when they're traveling. Like, I know it is very important for families to have tubs in their cabins. Not all cruise lines have tubs in all of their cabins. And so like being able, like that is something to like be super thoughtful of. And that is something that like somebody like myself who doesn't have children might not immediately think of because it's not important to me. But it is going to be important to somebody that does have a family, especially with young children who do bathe young children in a bathtub. So being able to like put those like little markers of nuggets and gold that only like you know and only like you can decipher. Like even thinking about like, I know that my people really love the spa, but unfortunately this spa was not it. So I would probably not put my spa favorite people on this ship. I would put them on this ship instead. Like thinking that way so that they can know, oh, this person also has my back, and making sure that I have a really great vacation or whatever the goal of the trip might be. We are going to squeeze all this juice because normally, and again, depending where you're located at, this can be like a whole or a half day thing. So you're spending a lot of time. Like for me to drive to Port Canaveral is about an hour. Then I need to make sure I'm there at least half an hour early because I know I've got to get to security. So, and normally ship inspections are like 4-ish hours that you can spend. Sometimes it's 3. So you can imagine like my day, I'm not doing anything else that day. So since like this is a main highlight for your day, squeeze all the juice for its worth. I might even like start when you get home brainstorming, because it's not just the content that you get there, it's also how you use the content and how can like you repurpose all this content. Like how can you make blog posts? If you do YouTube videos, how can you make different YouTube videos? How can you make content series from this? So I would go ahead and like brain dump, either write this down because then you can take a picture, upload it to any AI and like start brainstorming ideas from there, or you can just type it in immediately to AI. I feel like I will remember things more if I write them down, and then I'll get like even more inspiration if I write them down. If you have some sort of like voice recorder, like voice notes, voice note yourself all of the details and all of the things, because even like when you are at one of these ship inspections, there's going to be little details that you don't know, or that like your tour guide is going to randomly mention, that's going to be very beneficial to like the types of clients that you serve, being able to notate that. Now, I part of me is like, you could also use things like Plod, and Plod, Plaud, will kind of like record any conversations that you're having. But again, like I'm thinking about consent. So unless your tour guide has consented you to be recording this, which I don't think they will, maybe they will, who knows? I wouldn't use some sort of recording device to record them and their voice, and probably even like some of their own intellectual property or trade secrets. I feel like that's kind of a no-no. Definitely ask. You never know. And it could make your process of retaining information a little bit easier. but don't expect it to be, and just retain as much information, or take a notebook yourself, or write voice notes to yourself, whatever it is. Like, there's a lot of different things that you can do to remember a lot, because again, it goes fast and you're going in and out of a lot of different things. Definitely try and get like some content with you in it, if like where possible. And I feel like staircases are a really great place. I've gotten content with me in it on like the Oasis class ships, where we're able to like go on the carousel sometimes, not every time, but sometimes we're able to take a little spin around the carousel. So that has been fun to get content from there. So if there's like something that's very unique, or something that just looks like very lavish or grand, try and get like, if there's like a really beautiful backdrop, like I know Virgin ships have great backdrops in multiple different places. Celebrity ships are also beautiful ships. So find like a really great backdrop, either get a picture, or like, I'm thinking even if you're at lunch, have somebody take just a quick 10-second video of you while you're talking to somebody else, and like you're smiling and chatting and doing like all the things that I would prep you on if I was there taking content with you. So because you want to make sure that some of this footage does come out really great and beautiful too. And you want to make sure that you have like yourself in there too. So maybe if there's like an escalator, like going up to board the ship to like go to the security area, don't film security area. They don't like when you do that. That's a big no-no. But maybe just record yourself going up, like doing a selfie going up. A really great one too is like when you're getting off the ship and like doing like a teardrop or sad face or thumbs down. You could also do a smiley face, or smiling as you're walking back to your car or back to your transport, wherever you might be heading back to. So there's a couple different places where you can insert yourself, because I know like when you're on the ship itself and when you're trying to get footage of everything on the ship, getting footage with you in it is probably like the last thing that's on your mind, but there are different places to sneak in footage with you in like the slower-ish times, or when you're not like necessarily hustling. I think that is about all the tips that I can think of when it comes to like preparing for a ship inspection and using content. And like there's not necessarily a dedicated shot list. Maybe this is something that I work on for the cruise content library. But really anything that you see, any public spaces, are things that you want to make sure that are there. And if you can get any action movement, so like if there is somebody at the buffet that is serving somebody else like a dish of something, or like even like ice cream or things like that, those are some things of movement. If somebody is trying out that flow rider, that's something of movement. So things like we're doing, those little action shots that are happening, are also really great, aside from just taking footage of different rooms. So let me know if I missed anything. Let me also know if you thought that this episode was helpful. I think this was a really great idea. And I'm happy if there's other ideas or other resources that you are needing, please let me know, because they could come into wonderful podcast episodes, because that's what this podcast is all about, helping you become a better business owner and travel advisor. All right, thanks so much, everybody. I will see you next week. Thanks for joining me on the podcast today. Remember to check out the show notes for all relevant links and resources from today's show. See you next time.